Good morning to everyone. Welcome to the ethics class. And for today, we are going to discuss about the human reasoning. For our objectives for this day, first, let us understand the importance of human reasoning. Number two, let us differentiate the types of human reasoning. And number three, let us learn the steps for moral reasoning. Before I enter to our main topic, let us analyze this situation. There is a scene in a Broadway play where a priest is speaking to a man at a party and is asked if he ever hears anything interesting in confession. The priest replies that that in the very first confession he gave after being ordained, a man admitted that he'd murdered his wife. Later on, in the party, another man is introduced to the priest and says, I met you a long time ago, Father. In fact, I was the first person who came to you for confession. What does the author expect you to conclude from the two previous conversations? Let us now proceed to the importance of human reasoning. Reason is the capacity for consciously making sense of things, establishing and verifying facts, and applying logic, and changing or justifying practices, institutions, and beliefs based on new or exciting information. Reason is the capacity of consciously applying logic by drawing conclusions from new or existing information with the aim of seeking the truth. It is closely associated with such characteristically human activities as philosophy, science, language, mathematics, and arts, and is normally considered to be a distinguishing ability possessed by humans. Reason is sometimes referred to as rationality. Human reasoning is our sense of obligation to do what is right even if we do not want to do it. Our ability to reason is an important part of who we are and how we make sense of the world around us, as well as how we form relationships and interact with others. Reasoning is associated with the arts of thinking and cognition, and involves using one's intellect. The field of logic studies the ways in which humans can use formal reasoning to produce logically valid arguments. Reasoning may be subdivided into forms of logical reasoning such as deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, and abductive reasoning. Aristotle drew a distinction between a logical discursive reasoning and intuitive reasoning, in which the reasoning process through intuition, however valid, may tend toward the personal and subjectively opaque. In some social and political settings, logical and intuitive modes of reasoning may clash, while in other contexts, intuition and formal reason are seen as complementary rather than adversarial. For example, in mathematics, intuition is often necessary for the creative processes involved with arriving at a formal proof, arguably the most difficult of formal reasoning tasks. Reasoning, like a bit of intuition, is one of the ways by which thinking moves from one idea to a related idea. For example, reasoning is the means by which rational individuals understand sensory information from their environments or conceptualize abstract, such as cause and effect, truth and falsehood, or ideas regarding notions of good or evil. Reasoning, as a part of executive decision, is also closely identified with the ability to consciously change in terms of goals, beliefs, attitudes, traditions, and institutions, and therefore with the capacity for freedom and self-determination. In contrast to the use of reason as an abstract, a reason is a consideration given which either explain or justifies events, phenomena, or behavior. Reasons justifies decision, reasons support explanation of natural phenomena, reasons can be given to explain the actions of individuals. Using reason or reasoning can also be described more plainly as providing good or the best reasons. Humans make such decisions or reach such conclusions because they are born with innate reasoning abilities. Reasoning helps justify our actions, behavior, and experiences. In addition to everyday decisions, different types of reasoning skills are also used to make decisions and solve problems at the workplace. Most organizations reward employees who have the ability to solve problems that could hinder work, as they are likely to be more productive than others. Reasoning skills can help you make informed choices that can positively impact your career. Now, let us find out what are the different kinds of reasoning and how they can help us to make decisions. Logical reasoning. Logical reasoning is one of the most crucial types of reasoning and uses a methodological approach to arrive at a specific conclusion. If you implement these systematic processes in your work and life, you'll be able to process facts better. It will help you manage your emotions and implement reasonable solutions. Employers appreciate presentations based on logical strategies. An aspiring manager or leader can demonstrate different types of logical reasoning abilities by promoting teamwork and adopting collective strategies. And these are the three major types of logical reasoning: the deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, and abductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning uses syllogisms, inductive reasoning, nonverbal sequences, and numbers. Deductive reasoning starts out with a general statement or hypothesis and examines the possibilities to reach a specific logical conclusion according to California State University. It is when you take two true statements or premises to form a conclusion. It is a formal process with a top-down approach. Here, you deduce facts or conclusions from a given set of data or observations by using logical reasoning. This type of reasoning doesn't provide any information, but only helps to rearrange the existing facts in order to obtain new statements or conclusions. For example, when the government extended the COVID-induced lockdown twice, you probably deduce that it may get extended further. You use formal logic to arrive at a certain result. Let us have this example. For our premise 1, all ostriches are birds. For premise 2, Carlos is an ostrich. So what will be the conclusion based on the two premises? Carlos is a bird. This is a syllogism, a two premises leading to a conclusion. Another example. In one story, Holmes is observing a man sitting opposite him on a train. Here is his train of thought. Men with chalk dust on their fingers are school teachers. Second premise, this man has chalk dust on his fingers. For the conclusion, this man is a school teacher. Another first premise, all watchdogs bark at strangers. Second premise, the watchdog did not bark when the house was being burgled. What is the conclusion? Therefore, the burglar was not a stranger. The second type of logical reasoning is the inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning makes broad generalizations from specific observations. Inductive reasoning begins with observations that are specific and limited in scope, and proceeds to a generalized conclusion that is likely but not certain in light of accumulated evidence, otherwise known as a cause and effect reasoning. Inductive reasoning uses the bottom-up approach. It moves from specific observations to general conclusions or theories. It's more open-ended and exploratory. You analyze the situations by looking for patterns and trends that lead you to generalize your conclusions. When you pursue the pattern, you don't know for sure if it will continue. But if you assume it, it will. Therefore, your conclusions may have uncertain but likely results. For example, if you see your manager and team leader having a meeting, you may assume that you will be called to meet them next based on your inductive reasoning. Another examples, Mark shows a golden ring to his friend Paul. Mark said he will marry Martha. Therefore, Paul thinks Martha will receive the ring. Another, I normally leave work after 6 p.m. and I am usually able to avoid traffic. As long as I leave work after 6 p.m., I will always miss the traffic. Next, the last type of logical reasoning is the abductive reasoning. Abductive reasoning usually starts with an incomplete set of observations and proceeds to the likeliest possible explanation for the group of observations, according to Butte College, California. Abductive reasoning is often used by doctors who make a diagnosis based on test results and by jurors who make decisions based on the evidence presented to them. Like inductive reasoning, abductive reasoning seeks theories or specific events to explain conclusions. However, unlike inductive reasoning, the conclusions drawn through abductive reasoning are based on a guesswork. Under this, it's assumed that the most probable conclusion is the valid one. This type of reasoning is typically used in the context of uncertainty so that you can take your best shot by guessing. For example, while taking competitive examinations, students face several challenging questions. This doesn't stop them from attempting all the questions because they want to choose the most probable answer. Even workplaces appreciate employees who can make educated guesses and rely on their gut feeling. Another example of adaptive reasoning, A person walks into their living room and finds torn up paper all over the floor. The person's dog has been alone in the room all day. The person concludes that the dog tore up the papers because it is the most likely scenario. Another example, you wake up in the morning and you see that your roommate has left, but you see a half-eaten food in the kitchen. Then you abuse that he left early. Organizations are in the contrast search of people who can value to the workplace by utilizing various types of reasoning abilities they may have. This is why you find interviewers trying to gauge your logical reasoning and thinking competencies. Questions like, tell me about a time when you disagreed or with your coworker and how did you resolve it? Or what are the logical steps to this problem are some of the most popular ways to evaluate your reasoning capabilities. It's crucial that you keep sharpening your reasoning skills. For our next topic, it is about the fallacious reasoning. Fallacies are mistaken beliefs based on unsound arguments. They derive from reasoning that is logically incorrect, thus undermining an argument's validity. Fallacy is the use of an invalid or otherwise faulty reasoning or wrong moves in the construction of an argument. Fallacious argument may be deceptive by appearing to be better than it really is. Some fallacies are committed intentionally to manipulate or persuade by deception, while are commit others are argument depends on the context in which arguments are made. Fallacies are commonly divided into formal and informal. A formal fallacies is a flaw in the structure of a deductive argument which renders the argument invalid, while an informal fallacy originates in an error in reasoning other than an improper logical form. Arguments containing informal fallacies may be formally valid but still fallacious. Fallacies are defects that weaken arguments. Fallacious arguments are very common and can be persuasive in a common use. They may be even unsubstantiated assertions that are often delivered with a conviction that makes them sound as though they are proven facts. Informal fallacies, in the particular, are found frequently in a mass media, such as television and newspapers. It is important to understand that fallacies are so that one can recognize them in either one's own or others' writing. Avoiding fallacies will strengthen one's ability to produce strong arguments. It can be difficult to evaluate whether an argument is fallacious, as arguments exist along continuum of soundness, and an instrument that has several stages or parts might have some sound section and some fallacious ones. Fallacious arguments usually have the deceptive appearance of being good arguments. Recognizing fallacies in everyday arguments may be difficult since arguments are often embedded in rhetorical patterns that obscure the logical connections between statements. Informal fallacies may also exploit the emotional, intellectual, or psychological weaknesses of the audience. Recognizing fallacies can develop reasoning skills to expose the weaker links between premises and conclusions to better discern between what appears to be true and what is true. Argumentation theory provides a different approach to understand and classifying policies. In this approach, an argument is regarded as an interactive protocol between individuals that attempts to resolve their disagreements. The protocol is regulated by certain rules of interaction, so violations of these rules are fallacies. Fallacies are used in place of valid reasoning to communicate a point with the intention to persuade. Examples in the mass media today include but not limited to propaganda, advertisements, politics, newspaper, editorials, opinion-based news, and shows. There are different types of policies. First is the ad hominem argument. It is often a personal attack on someone's character or motive rather than an attempt to address the actual issue at hand. Second is the appeal to authority policy, insisting that a claim is true simply because a valid authority or expert on the issue said it was true without any other supporting evidence offered. Last, the bandwagon policy, also known as appeal to opportunity, occur when a proposition is claimed to be true or good, solely because many people believe it is to be so. An example, all my friends are doing a low-carb diet. That must be the only way to lose weight. For our last part of discussion, let us tackle about the steps in making moral and ethical decisions. 7 steps to help you make better decisions. First, stop and think. It prevents rash decisions, prepares us for more thoughtful discernment, and can allow us to mobilize our discipline. Second, clarify your goals. Before you choose, clarify your short-term and long-term aims. Third, determine the facts. Be sure you have an adequate information to support an intelligent choice. Fourth, develop options. Once you know what you want to achieve and have made your best judgment as to the relevant facts, make a list of actions you can take to accomplish your goals. Fifth, consider consequences. Filter your choices to determine if any of your options will violate the core ethical values, and then eliminate any unethical options. Identify who will be affected by the decision and how the decision is likely to affect them. 6, choose. Make a decision. If the choice is not immediately clear, try talking to people whose judgment you respect. Seek out relevant assistance, guide, and support. And lastly, monitor and modify. Ethical decision makers monitor the effects of their choices. If they are not producing the intended results or are causing additional unintended and undesirable results, they reassess the situation and make new decisions. Before my presentation ends, I want to leave to you this quotation. In every situation, there is a choice. You choose how people affect your life. You choose how to react to situations. You choose to be on a right path or a wrong one. There is always a choice, and it's your choice how to live your life.